You walk down this little trail and then it kind of opens up into this space you would never even realize exists when you're up sitting in a classroom on campus. It's just a great way for me to feel connected and know that everything I've been learning in all my classes has real-world implications, and I can see that there's still good to be done, there's important work that we can do, and there's a connection to be made with the natural world.
So the biopreserve was set up for the purposes of research and education, and it's about 110 acres. It's broken up into two different allotments, the Western Preserve and the Eastern Preserve. It's a place to decompress. It's peaceful, it's more quiet, there's birds chirping, there's interesting, beautiful things to look at. There aren't really any other universities in Southeast Michigan that have a nature preserve on their main campus. It's really an island of biodiversity. It's really surrounded by a sea of development, of urbanization and suburbanization. So just from the perspective of biodiversity, it's wonderful to have this resource. So this whole area is considered a fen, and it's a special type of wetland. And what distinguishes it from other types of wetlands is that the water originates from groundwater. So this is upwelling groundwater, and because it spent so much time underground, it has a really unique chemical constituency that reflects the local geology. And this creates very specialized plant communities in these fens, and is one of the reasons that it's such a unique ecosystem. Historically, if you looked at this wetland, it was a very open landscape. It was dominated by grasses and other herbaceous vegetation, but in the absence of fire, what we have is woody encroachment from the perimeter that eventually chokes out these wetland plants that would have been dominant historically. So one of the main goals is to get rid of these exotic invasive woody plants that have become so dominant.
We're gathered here today to witness an iteration of a very ancient tradition among indigenous peoples, the use of fire as medicine and as a way of caring for the land.
Prescribed burning has been kind of the process of reintroducing fire to the landscape in which fire has been a regular occurrence for thousands of years. And as a result, the native plant species have become really well adapted and thrive on the impacts of prescribed fire. Wildfire can be damaging for sure, but the fires that we have here in Michigan are not like the wildfires that we see images of out west. Fire here is much lower to the ground, it's much more well contained, and especially prescribed fire. And it is really one of the essential tools for most Michigan landscapes to really fully enhance the biological diversity.
So today we're going to take soil samples from each of our control and burn plots, and then we will take them back to the lab and analyze them for soil moisture content. That's important because presumably the higher the water levels, the more microbial activity and the higher the decomposition. It's really nice to come out here and explore. Not only are we learning and carrying out our experiments, but we also get to see so much natural biodiversity that it has to offer. And the fen ecosystem down here also provides a lot of species that are not found elsewhere in Southeast Michigan, such as mink or flying squirrel. And so it's our job to protect it and preserve it as much as possible.
So a lot of the work that we're doing here is we're looking at the species that we have that are invading the area. That's really an important one. And We're not the only location that has this problem, but not all locations that have this problem have the resources to do all the research and understand the situation. So kind of the goal with what we're doing is to understand this type of situation that exists all over the world and be able to apply what we've learned to all sorts of new situations.
We are planting a whole bunch of native plant species to fens and wetland prairies to try to learn more about management practices for those types of ecosystems, as well as boost up some of the floral species.
And then the last step is to stomp it. So you want to stomp it on all sides around there.
Without those floral species, there are no flowers for the pollinators, and without the pollinators, there are no other species that rely on them to pollinate, as well as for food sources in addition to that. So it's just really important that we kind of outcompete some of these woody species with more flowers. We hope that after planting a bunch of these native species and following them for either a summer or a few summers, that we understand more about invasive species in fens and how those are really affecting planting and restoration tactics.
I hope this is the first step towards a lot of similar activities in the future. We have a 110-acre nature preserve, almost all of which needs some sort of restoration measure, whether it be seed planting or prescribed burns or the like. So I'm hopeful that we'll do lots of this sort of thing in the future.
I think if there's anything that climate change is teaching us today, it is that we cannot colonize every square inch of space on the planet for human use and still expect life to thrive. We humans are not the supreme masters, but interdependent collaborators in a biodiverse community of life whose intricate workings we're just beginning to wrap our heads around. And the biopreserves can be a schoolhouse for us in that regard.